Hey, so congratulations. If you made it this far, you've done a lot of hard work and it's taken a lot of commitment, and I really respect you for getting to this point. Because quite honestly, not everybody does. And while there's nothing we can actually do to guarantee a treatment outcome, your commitment here and your willingness to stay in this for the long haul is absolutely the best thing you can be doing to give your loved one the best chance possible for treatment success. But now we got to talk about the fact that we're not done yet. Remember in the beginning when I talked about when I first wrote my book and I thought, man, they're not going to need me anymore because I've just put everything they need right here in this book. But then I started noticing families coming to group and they'd be asking questions about things that were specifically addressed in the book. And I'd say, well, didn't you read the book? It's right there on page 54. And that's when I started realizing just how much help the families needed in translating the material from the book to the real life situations they were experiencing. And in a sense, that's where we are now relative to this online course. You've gotten through all the content from RehabWorks, but now it's time to put it to practical use. Because treatment isn't over, and life's going to keep moving forward, and things are going to happen. And the most important thing you can do now is to keep your head in this material so you can make the best use out of this by applying it to the situations that you're going to be facing as you move forward in the treatment process. So in this module, we're going to identify some of the most common areas where client denial can turn into power struggles that end up wasting valuable time when the client starts balking at some part of the treatment plan. So I created what I call the Educated Consumer Checklist. Sort of like a frequently asked questions section, only it's framed from a perspective of how do we respond when they say blank. So for example, how do we respond when they say, get me out of here, I'm not as bad as everyone else here? Or how do we respond when they say, but it's only pot, it doesn't cause me any problems? Or I need to focus on my depression? Or I don't like those AA meetings? Now, the answer to all of these are somewhere in the material that you've gone through. But what I did here is instead of having to go hunt through the modules to find the specific content that addresses each of these issues, I put it all in one place for you so you have it right there at your fingertips. But then I also set it up so you don't have to go through this module unit by unit. There's no quizzes that you have to complete, and so you can just jump around and go straight to the topics that you want to look at. So the last thing I'll say is that the overall purpose of this module is to help you continue using RehabWorks after you've gone through this initial completion of modules 1 through 3. Because just like those families who were reading my book when it first got published still needed help in applying the material to their specific situations, that's where you are now. You just digested a ton of information, and I'm going to trust that you found it valuable, but I can't stress enough how important it is for you to go back and continue reviewing it. So even if you don't relate to anything on the checklist, I'd still really encourage you to go through all of this. Because every time you do, it's like pouring another layer of concrete on the foundation. Each one of these items is like putting a face to the kind of cracks that can occur. And we want to make sure that we're filling up those cracks and not letting anything fall through. Staying engaged with the material is the key to becoming a rock-solid educated consumer, which is what's ultimately going to give you the best chance possible for having a successful treatment experience. So let's go ahead and dive into the Educated Consumer Checklist.